Most great leaders have an eye for what's missing. I mean, we can spot what's missing in products and services, in our business systems. We can spot what's missing in the development of our team or what's missing in our team members, and also what's missing in our clients. But most leaders get stuck implementing their solutions to what's missing. And when a leader can't implement their solutions, they're stuck in the same predictable future, right? And that's because 95% of our human brain is wired to make tomorrow the same as today, keep today the same as yesterday. And as long as leaders leading humans, which I don't know many leaders out there leading aliens, but you don't never know. But as long as we're leading humans, then we're fighting this uphill battle because we are fighting 95% of their conditioning to do things differently. And so the number one thing that a leader needs in implementing their new solutions is enrollment. And in this video, I'm going to share with you the 4 steps to powerful enrollment, right? You see, because enrollment is one of the most important skills a leader must have if they're going to create a future that's different than the past and other than this predictable future. Powerful enrollment skills equip a leader in having the kinds of conversations with others that will have them sort of lower their protective monkey mind guard. Because that 95% of our conditioning is that monkey mind survival mechanism brain of ours that doesn't want to be wrong, that wants to look good and wants to be admired. And in order to enroll somebody into seeing something different for themselves and to see a new possibility, we've got to be able to lower that guard and enroll them in a new possibility. Making positive changes in our lives isn't easy and comfortable, and this survival conditioning is going to resist being open to these changes, even if we say, I'm going to do it differently, right? If your team member says, yes, I want to change, but you see that they're not changing, that's because they're fighting 95% of their wiring against 5% of their wiring that says, yes, I do want to change. And so powerful enrollment is the kind of enrollment that you can enroll somebody into lowering their guard to see something that they have brilliantly disguised and tucked back in their blind spots for their entire life. So I'm going to give you these 4 steps so that you can begin to notice them. You'll notice that there's already places that you're applying them and probably being effective with it. Also start to notice successful leaders. You'll notice how they're applying these steps. And notice how you can begin to also deliberately practice and apply these steps in enrolling clients and enrolling your team members into new possibilities, enrolling your children into doing their chores without complaining. Just start to apply them and see what happens. So the first step is authentic connection. Now, with authentic connection, we all have the capacity to do this because we all have the capacity for genuine curiosity. It's our innate sense, our childlike sense of wonder and awe that we're born with. Children are just genuinely curious. So recall that genuine curiosity. Next time you are with whoever is in front of you, get genuinely curious about who is this person, what's important to them, and what do they want. Also get genuinely curious. When you really get a sense of who a person is and what they want, you get genuinely curious about the gap. Get curious about how and why they're not able to create what they say they want. And ask questions coming from this place of genuine curiosity. The next step is to appeal to their intellect. And this is something really important that I noticed, that when this step isn't there, this is the step that really starts to lower somebody's guard. When you can appeal to their intellect, most people out there and team members or new potential clients, they're not aware of the human condition that they're in. We think that all of our behavioral patterns and everything that we are is who we are. And a lot of times it contradicts ourselves. Like, why do I say that I want to be healthy, but I eat a brownie, right? We feel these contradictions. And so if you can kind of offer up a bit of a framework or start to kind of explain the human condition just a little bit, what this does is it separates their attachment to my definition of stuck is when we take these behavioral patterns that we're frustrated that we keep doing. I keep eating a brownie when I say I'm going on a diet. When we make that take it personally, that means something about me that I keep doing this, then when we take it personally, that's when we stay stuck. Because when we take it personally, we won't be with it and really look at it. It's uncomfortable for us to look at because we feel a sense of inadequacy or a failure or not good enough. We're with that uncomfortable feeling, and so we'll find ways to keep it in our blind spot and not really look at it or be with it. But when we understand the human condition, when we really understand that, 95% of our wiring is wired for survival and efficiency, and that we've develop these behavioral patterns over a lifetime of surviving, which are modifications of our authentic self, which I call survival patterns, and that they're not who we are. They're more of like the monkey suit we're in. Michael Neal says most people spend way too much time trying to figure out who they are and not enough time trying to figure out what human is. And so if you can kind of provide just a little bit of a framework for somebody to really understand the human condition so that they can separate that gap just a little bit, they'll start to they'll lower their guard. And when they lower their guard, it opens up the opportunity for you to do the next step, which is offer support. And this is all, it just happens, these steps happen very organically, which you may notice that when this actually, you're already doing these in some places, because it just happens quite organically. When you do that and you help somebody see it and they start to lower their guard and you can feel it, it's almost impossible to not offer support. And when you know as a leader and you have been able to see who this person is and what's important to them and what that gap is, and you know what the human condition is, it's hard to not offer support. So when you offer support, you want to offer them an opportunity to have a conversation in which they might be able to see something for themselves and have a really powerful breakthrough. You want to offer this from a place of compassion, and like compassion for them, compassion for the human condition that we're all in. And also a sense of confidence in the work. When you know that these types of conversations, for me, I'm most confident when it's not about me bringing the conversation to you. It's about me bringing the work and offering a framework that helps somebody see things differently and can hold a container for them to do their work where they can change their life. When I have the confidence in that, they feel that, and it's something that will lend themselves to be more likely to say yes to it. It's also important when you offer support that you do it from a place of unattachment. When we decide as leaders to be a stand for people's greatness, it's really important that we also understand that we have to be with the heartbreak and the disappointment that comes when somebody's not ready or willing to say yes to that, to doing the work. And to remember that they and us and everybody else on the planet in every single moment is exactly where they're supposed to be. And they might be in a part of their journey where they just need to be stuck for a little bit longer, and we have to be willing to be with that. So it's important when you make the offer to be in complete unattachment to wherever they are in their journey. And step number 4 is creating a coaching container. So you offer support. If somebody says yes to it, you might schedule time to do it another time. It might be time to do it right there in that moment. If they are saying yes to the support, it's important to create a coaching container. And what a coaching container is the way to do it is to make a few requests for agreements. And these are the type of agreements that will sort of seed for them what this kind of conversation is going to be. I'll share with you the example of the agreements the requests for agreements that I use, and I'll show you why I use these ones. You don't have to use these ones, use them as an example, but create the container that's going to work best for you. I choose these because I'm also wanting them to see in the container that they're safe to lower their guard and be vulnerable. And they're going to see in these agreements, in the way that I word it, that if they lower their guard and are vulnerable and go into that cave they fear to enter with me, that they are likely to get a life-changing, rewarding experience. They're likely to see something or have an insight or a breakthrough that will change their life for the better forever. And when they see that, then they're going to be more likely to show up in the kind of a way that we can create something really powerful together. So the requests that I make is, the first one is that I say, hey, I really want to support you in seeing something really powerful for yourself here. I want to kind of create a container for this conversation so that we can create something extraordinary. So I have a few requests. Are you okay with that? The first request I have is that, hey, anything is possible inside of the space of this conversation. Are you willing to play with me like that we can create anything here? And I have this kind of conversation if it's a team member, if it's a client, if it's a potential client, if it is a loved one who wants some support. This is the same thing, the same process. I'm stepping in as leader, trying to help somebody create a future that is something other than their predictable pattern. Anything is possible inside the space of this conversation. And then I say, hey, I have a distinction of serving versus pleasing. If I was more interested in pleasing you, then I would filter everything that I say based on what I think you want to hear, or what's comfortable for me to say. But my guess is you probably have enough people in your life like that and don't need one more. Is it okay with you if I don't do that for you? Is it okay if I'm not attached to being right, but I am committed to not withholding anything that comes up for you, especially even if it's uncomfortable for me to say? Are you okay with that? I get them to say yes to that, because when they say yes to that, we're deciding together how we're going to play to create the extraordinary, right? The third one, hide nothing, hold nothing back. I talk about in the world, we are conditioned to hide most of ourselves. Inside of a conversation like this that's really going to be able to change your life, you have to reveal what is unseen, and I'll often give examples, hey, when I'm working with my coach and he asks me a higher flame question, I can feel that there is like 95% of me that's like, I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there. I don't want to look. I don't want to look. But I've conditioned myself over time, because I know every time that I look there and I see something that feels scary in the moment, as soon as I say it, as soon as I tell the truth, it sets me free. And I have exponential more freedom and more power. And so I've conditioned myself to lean into the place that I don't want to go. Are you willing to do that here in this conversation? Because I guarantee if you do, you'll be able to discover things for your life that will set you free and create so much more freedom and power for yourself. Is that okay? Are you willing to play that way? The way that you set these requests, entice them. What you're doing is you're enrolling them into a different way of being with you. You're enrolling them into a way of being that is lowering their guard so that they can see the things that they need to see are those conditioned patterns that are keeping the predictable future predictable. Those kind of patterns, that which is undistinguished, runs us. And what we're trying to do is pull those forward and distinguish them. That's how we create a different future as leaders, for ourselves, for our team, for our clients. The last one is, this is a silly one I put in there. I'll tell you why I do it. The last one, I do it because I offer it as a game. I want to say, hey, it's a game. We can also have a little bit of fun with this. It's a silly game of no saying, I don't know, right? Because part of what this conversation is going to feel like, Joseph Campbell describes it best when he says, it's into the cave you fear to enter lies the treasure you seek. And a lot of times, and I know when I'm working with my coach, and he asks me that question that just, I can feel my body heating up. I don't know comes up for me and feels really real in the moment, but it never is. And so my request is that we play this little silly game called, it's not silly, it's a little game of playing I don't know. The reason being is just for efficiency of our time and laser coaching, we can get more work done, right? I put this little request in there because it's actually a little bit one of my pet peeves. It's my human pet peeve. When I ask somebody something and they say, I don't know, I just get a little bit irritated. And so I put this request in there so I don't have to deal with my own human conditioning in our coaching. And I really do believe it's something that if they'll start to notice that I don't know is the thing that we sort of, this blanket that we put over things we don't want to look at, if they'll start to actually it's a seed that plants, like a little seed that like, oh, wow, maybe there is a whole bunch of stuff that I'm trying to hide from myself. Yeah, there is. And if I can plant that little seed, then I can lean in our deep dive discovery and see even more, help them reveal even more. Because the more of those patterns that I can get them to reveal, the more of an exponential future they have the possibility of creating. So if that's somebody on my team, I want them able to create the most exponential future as possible for their life. If they're thriving, my business is thriving. If it is a client, man, I want them to create exponential results, right? If it's my loved ones, I want them to create exponential life also, right? So these are, after you've gone through, by going through these 4 steps with somebody, what you have successfully done is you have lowered their guard, that 95% survival mind guard. You have lowered it in a way that now you can coach them to create something truly extraordinary, truly exponential, and have the kind of a leadership conversation that will change their lives and probably yours forever. So play with these 4 steps. I'd love to hear how it goes. I'd love to hear what you are noticing about that. What are you seeing in other masterful leaders? What do you experience in yourself? In the Leadership Mastery program that we'll be offering in the summer of 2020 and probably beyond, we're going to dive into these 4 steps. And we're going to practice deliberate practice with them so that in the development of your leadership, you can refine these skills more and more. So because as leader, most leaders don't have the coaching skills they need to help their team work through those survival patterns towards their greatness. And if, as leaders, if we don't have the skill set to coach our team members, then they're stuck in the patterns. And if we're not working through those patterns ourselves as leader, then we're stuck in the patterns and our monkey minds are colluding with our team members' monkey minds. And it's a lot of stuckness, right? In this framework of leadership we are not talking about as a title of position. We're talking about leadership as a quality of being. Leadership is a quality of being cause in the matter. As leader, I recognize I create everything in my reality, which means I can create everything. And if there's any place that I cannot create what I say I want, that is a clue to some survival pattern that is causing some constraint to my freedom and power. And as leader, I do my work to get that out of the way. I get myself out of the way so that I can show up free and powerful and create whatever it is I say I want and be a stand for the future that benefits everybody on my team. So come play with us there and lead brilliantly, lead boldly, lead courageously, but above all, lead authentically.